The former president alluded to Brazil's landmass as well as its influential capabilities, noting that the largest country in South America has been able to broker deals between nations who were engaged in conflicts, among other notable achievements. Granger noted that Brazil's stance on the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy augurs well for Guyana.
So Brazil is not interested in any realignment of borders, and that has worked to the benefit of Guyana. That Brazil is not interested in countries squabbling and realigning borders, because eventually Brazil itself is going to be affected.
Just recently, at his address to the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, which also was his first in-person address to the Assembly, President Irfan Ali announced before world leaders, inclusive of Venezuela, that Guyana cannot be used as an altar of sacrifice for the settlement of Venezuela's internal political differences. Former President Granger further noted that the two countries' objectives coincide and that this can be reflected through the number of shared agreements they have engaged in, but also reminded that the citizens of the Cooperative Republic should not look to Brazil as an aggressor state, even as he posited that Brazil's support for Guyana in the border controversy matter is quite subtle.
Brazil's support is quite subtle and understated.
Meanwhile, the question was put to the former president as to whether he believes relations between Guyana and Brazil have cooled.
Well, they certainly have not warmed. I know there was a video conference between the two foreign ministers, but what was frightening was the withdrawal of the ambassador and the fact that he has not been replaced.
Just recently, a group of protesters on the Brazilian border with Guyana expressed frustration over the fact that they were not being allowed to enter the country to carry out their business. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Guyana-Brazil border had been closed, with a deal being brokered eventually, allowing both sides to cross the border once per week to carry out their business ventures. Granger called on Guyanese to understand their continental role and destination, as he posited that Guyana serves as the bridge between the countries of the Caribbean and those on the South American continent. In that regard, he reminded that Guyana's foreign policy is heavily dependent on its relations with its three frontier states, Brazil, Venezuela, and Suriname. He therefore sounded the call for there to be re-engagements with Brazil.
So once we accept that continental destiny, we must accept that our relations with Federative Republic of Brazil are pivotal, and it is something that should not be ignored, and I would urge the government of Guyana to re-engage with Brazil, not only for defense and security purposes, but also for the development and the well-being.
Wendell Badrie for the HGP Nightly News.